All right, guys. Thank you for showing up. We're going to start. This is going to be a Barcamp, so a very relaxed, open discussion between you guys and presenters. Today with us, we have Dennis, CTO of Web0, and also Vasilika, who is a DevRel also at Web0, but she is a Web2 developer focusing on UI UX, and that's exactly the subject of discussion we'll have today. How can we better the UI UX in the ecosystem and Polkadot in general? So you guys, take it away.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, today we speak about interfaces. So let's just introduce a bit ourselves. Who of you focused more on front-end part? Front-end part, yeah. And are there more back-end? No? What else? Like developers at all? Not at all. Design? No? Okay.
Anyone
Okay.
interested in onboarding?
Yeah.
Onboarding your potential clients, developers into your products and making them interested in that, making them use it more easily, understanding it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, interfaces. It was a long way of interfaces in web in general. So we started with a flat design, then we made a lot of shadows and gradients, and then we came back again to flat design now. And so if we look at some examples of Web3 websites, they somehow quite often looks a bit overloaded with information, especially for people who are not experts in this industry yet. So that's why I think that we can start a bit speak about complex concepts of Web3 in general, and especially that all this should be somehow like realized with interfaces for people to use it. So maybe you just want to, at the beginning, to share your own maybe stories, how you started. Was it hard for you? Or maybe you know some other stories of other people who were struggling a bit.
This is on? Yeah, I'll toss this over. So anyone want to share a story of like, yeah, Sean?
I remember the first time I used Ethereum, I Googled which Ethereum wallet to use. And you get 1,000 different answers, and at that time it was very fragmented, and there was a combination of like in-browser, download like a native application, download a mobile application, all that kind of stuff. So even just getting a wallet was kind of crazy.
But how you found this way, like through all these labyrinths?
I honestly don't remember exactly, but I think if I remember correctly, I generated a wallet on an HTML page. This was like the old MyCrypto. What was the one? MyEther wallet. MyEther wallet, right? So I generated from there, but then it wasn't super useful because then you couldn't directly like, call other apps. So then you find MetaMask eventually and all that kind of stuff. And MetaMask was still kind of new at the time.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any other examples of struggles, or maybe good examples how complex concepts were realized very good?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I got introduced to Bitcoin. I mean, that was like in 2010. And someone told me like you can mine Bitcoin and you get like, and I imagined there was this like a flash game back then where it was like a miner up there and he was sending like a claw down and you're trying to get like gold nuggets. So I downloaded Bitcoin QT, which was like the first miner. And I thought there was going to be, you know, a graphical interface. I'm just going to press some buttons, you know. But it was actually more akin to maybe installing Linux in like 1995 or something like that. And, you know, I'm technical, but I was like, oh, this is a challenge, you know. But then I understood also, like, okay, then I'm probably still early, you know. So when there's complex concepts that a lot of people don't understand already, you know, you have the edge as well. Mm-hmm. So if you get to understand it, you will be earlier than most people. So I think when I find that's usually a sign for me that, you know, this is going to be interesting. So I think, yeah.
Well,
that's
you
the
like
other side
challenges, so that's why you're still here.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a big challenge, and but then since I got to know it, it's been very rewarding.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I'm trying to find a new wallet in a new blockchain or ecosystem, I usually just go on Google and search out what's the top 10 wallet or top 5 wallet for that ecosystem, right? And then from there, I will see, for example, in Polkadot, it could be Talisman, Sub-Wallet, Polkadot.js, etc. And then I would go on YouTube and just kind of see any tutorials on how to use the wallet and just kind of have a visual guide for me to understand how it works. And if I'm coming from Ethereum or other areas, then I could kind of like see where there's a certain UX pattern for each wallet, and I can kind of expect what the user experience would be before I even download the wallet. That's how I would look into it.
Mm-hmm. Any other ideas? So when I started my path in blockchain, it was like a couple years ago. So no, I started firstly with just crypto coins, okay. But when you go deeper into all these concepts, for me it was really hard because it's so many information. It's not like when you just try to learn, I don't know, another like backend language, for example. I started with PHP, you look at Python, it's not so hard. But with blockchain, it's hard because it's a lot of new information and new concepts, and it's all important. So I think that the point here that a lot of developers, they sometimes afraid of all this complexity, and that's why a lot of developers now, they still stay only in Web 2 space. And to make this transition, we need to simplify everything. We need to simplify all these concepts somehow to people. And another also, you want Dennis to add something? What could be also the point?
Well, I think a lot of you people know me, and probably you know me for my manner of giving the feedback, providing the honest feedback and actually reporting it as an issue and whatnot. And I reported quite a lot of issues with the existing UI, or suggested to various projects, mostly in the ecosystem, to actually have the UI for something, or even create the API, or maybe even having the UI for the developers. Which is completely different persona, but we also have to talk about it. We also have to implement it, meaning onboarding the people in the ecosystem from different sources.
Yeah, and also continue this thing that we need more Web 2 people in here, because a lot of developers in Web 2, they're very skilled in interfaces, for example. And designers and UX designers, for example, if you want to make a really good interface, you need UX research. You need to understand your audience at the beginning. Otherwise, you need to rewrite sometimes a lot of stuff, and it just takes time, and time is money. So we need to convert these people. We need to make them they should trust us. They should trust to some crypto projects. They should not think that this is a scam. For example, I'm GD, Google Developer Expert. It's like community of people who are sharing publicly a lot of stuff about web. In this environment, there are some people who are already in blockchain. We have these people. But some people, when they knew that I switched to blockchain, they said, oh, but it's a bubble, you know, right? Like, it will somehow go away, and they still not believe that, yeah, Bitcoin, how much is it, right? But they don't trust it somehow, and that's the problem because of a lot of crypto scam projects and etc. So I don't know. I do not recommend to deal with these projects because it just damages the industry in general, unfortunately. So yeah, I would say that simplify everything and try to explain people who are not familiar for this, that it's not so hard, and show where is the easiest part to go there, right? Yeah.
I have a question. So then how much do these terms really matter? And who do they matter to?
You mean these terms?
So all the terms that are here, right? They're important.
Yeah.
To some subset of end users or some audience, but ultimately for better UIs and better onboarding and better user experience, they shouldn't matter, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So the perfect scenario, that people use something and they even don't realize that they use blockchain. So for end users, it should be like this. Of course, when we build all these concepts on like security on backend level and Web3 level, we need to deal with that with proper all these knowledges. But end users, they don't care. They don't need to know that. And it would be much easier for them start to use blockchain if they don't know that they use blockchain. You know, like AI, people sometimes don't know actually that, like AI, how does it work? Where my data are going? I just like want this new picture. That's all. So simplify everything.
I would add on some of the of these terms, and I can a little bit return to the point that you have to understand your personas. And for instance, one would be the end user, someone who doesn't need to know, and for them, you should definitely abstract away as many complexity as you can and just hide it, and people are not aware about like using or not using the blockchain whatsoever. They just need to know that it works and their value in there. But also, if you're talking about like another persona, like onboarding a developer into something, we already provide like the same Polkadot JS apps. Clearly, not the wallet, obviously, and the tool for developers and the UI for developers, which makes it a lot easier to play with. For instance, if you talk about another persona who would be like, imagine yourself in a bar talking to someone who wants to know about Polkadot, and how do you explain parachains to them? You go to parachains.info, and there is a list that they are active, and that there are some descriptions. It's more or less maintained. There is like progress bar for everyone. This is the interface for onboarding people into the ecosystem and just showing the large picture. And for instance, why wouldn't we advertise this instead of Polkadot.com on Berlin Taxi? For instance, just having people understand more about what's the concept about parachains, giving more explanations like the short ones for simple people, for not technical people from the get-go on the same parachains.info, or making it easier not only obviously from UI UX onboarding perspective for people to stake, like how the staking problem of like restaking and removing your tokens from staking is worse in the native ecosystem as opposed to the staking platforms such as Binance and whatnot. Yeah, so approaching your various personas in their own way.
Yeah, we need to understand that users are different even. Some are beginners, some are advanced, and for example, for beginners it should be a very clear path, but we will go through it on onboarding challenges, our next topic. So what are our pain points? We started already discuss it, and I have this picture for you.
Yeah, speaking of Polkadot JS, so early in the days when we didn't really have normal UI in the Polkadot ecosystem, I see you down there. We had a lot of complaints from people entering the ecosystem that, oh, that Polkadot with that very weird wallet. And a lot of people, a lot of newcomers were judging the entire ecosystem, the entire great technology, only for the views of a very complex wallet, so to say. And I had to, like, while networking at the same place, like on the conferences, nearby the bars, whatever, I had to explain this is not a wallet in the first place. This is the interface. This is the UI, not for normal people, but rather for developers, so they could play with it. And while working at Parity, we've been talking about it a lot, that some stuff should have a disclaimer or something like it. And the functions of actually writing these interfaces should be delegated to someone in the ecosystem, paid for implementation of the normal staking, normal transactions, extrinsics, and monitoring the governance.
Yeah, so let's go further for some examples of experience how you can create your wallet. like mnemonic phrases, you should not like keep them on your laptop. You can't like write them on a paper. Where you should like keep them then? It's so hard for like average people to understand all these things with like a private key if you lost it or if you forgot your mnemonic phrase. It's so hard. And for example, in Web 2, people started like, they had always passwords. They still have passwords everywhere. So, but they firstly started to do two-factor authentication. And they started to rely on phone numbers, SMS, and it's also not very secure, you know, that phone number can be just taken from you like this sometimes in some countries. And email, yes, still people use it, yes, but for example, now it's supposed, the most secure way is supposed to be like a key, hardware key. Yeah, that's a good point. So what Web3 started to do, it's like signing through through wallets. So Web2 started signing in through LinkedIn, Facebook, blah, 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 all these famous companies. And Web3 started to rely on wallets. It's quite convenient and like quite secure, but still, let's think what we can do more. So when you use mobile wallet, for example, you also can, you know, set up this Face ID recognition. Sometimes it's like fingerprint maybe on some devices yet. But if we speak also, we will speak later also about different cross-platforms, but if we speak about web experience, then in web browser, if you have web version of your wallet and mobile version of your wallet, now in web you also can use all the stuff. You can sign in through keys, hardware, you can sign in through Face ID, fingerprints, or all the more secure things. But Denis said that old laptops are not so secure that because they didn't have this microchip. Maybe you can.
Yeah. So this is a complex topic of in between security and providing the normal interface for users. So, for instance, if we're talking about wallets, you currently can only make a wallet which would be installed on the Android or iOS phone, which have the security chip in there. And sometimes they tell you that, oh, this phone doesn't have the security chip. That means that your seeds are not safely stored on the device. And more or less, transferring this interface to the computer makes sense, but very rarely, and only the last years, computers started to implement security chips on them. And speaking about passkeys and 2FA and everything, sometimes, and by far most of the times, crypto projects and like P2P, even projects that claim the end-to-end security, they rely on Web 2 authentication methods, which is just lame. It kind of breaks all of your decentralization and security and privacy and everything because you rely on Web 2 service with centralized services. And here, I've been researching this stuff quite recently, like half a year ago, and the best thing I found, not from our ecosystem, it was Privy.io, that actually does, at least claims that they do that Web3 authentication, authenticate with Privy.io pretty much anywhere, like the button, click the button out with Google, out with Facebook, this kind of stuff, they provide this feature, but they are not open source, they're paid for, and they're pretty greedy, and there is no alternative by far. We've had, I think, like within this year, within the decentralized feature program, I think they didn't pass though, but it was quite a similar project based on the ecosystem code, open source and everything, and it could have been a good alternative that everyone could use.
So I believe Privy, they use MPC, multi-party computation to do this.
Yes.
And what's interesting, and the reason also why I think, because I've researched a little bit of this myself, curious about what solutions are out there, and you're right, there's not a lot of solutions. But the reason is because not a lot of people are doing it. They're very well funded, yet so that they're not open source. It wouldn't make sense because of the competition. But what's interesting is to see, so that the services that they would offer at the most sophisticated, like decentralized, like kind of fancy Web3 stuff, it's ZK stuff. So you're running a ZK circuit, which is incredibly expensive to do. And so it's actually much more efficient to, even in your MPC like solution, to host your own network of nodes to do multi-party computation. And what they do is that they use their own network, so it's kind of centralized, but not so centralized, because then they're using authentication like Google, or like your Google Auth, right? But what's interesting though is, who cares? Like, if you're an end user, like why would you say, oh, I'm willing to like pay a little bit more to authenticate myself by using like the fancy ZK stuff? Yeah, and I'm willing to put more money down for that. But I guess the question to you and the audience is like, how much should we care about this stuff? And if we're building these applications, so these interfaces to decentralized technologies, as builders, what should we be informing users about what choices they have? And what's the most elegant way to educate your end user in that sense? That's a kind of question to the audience too, if you guys have any comments on that.
Can I add on to the question? So there's a ton of wallet out there, right? There's MetaMask, there's Phantom, there's Talisman, there's hundreds of wallet. And then if we're going to make the user choose the specific one way of signing in out of so many hundreds of wallet out there, while most of the people are used to just sign up with Google, Facebook, or LinkedIn, like why should I just like, on top of his question, like why should I choose out of all these wallets and compared to just the big 3 SSOs, right?
This is answering to that. I guess if you have a standard of sign in, they have it in Ethereum, for example. We don't have it in Polkadot because we don't write standards. We lack that, sadly. But in Ethereum they have that. So the Ethereum provider has one function that, so it's there. So you don't need to write that for every wallet or whatever, X, Y, Z. I mean, but everyone is using the same. So I guess, but my opinion on this, maybe it's a bit controversial, but if you want to get regular users, you need to have regular stuff. You don't need to go too crazy. I don't, honestly, the real user, I think, does not want to log in with ZK and decentralized, and honestly, they don't care. So you don't need to be a, I don't know, I don't need to be a Swift expert to make a bank transfer, or a SEPA expert to make a bank transfer. I don't care. I just want my money to go from A to B, so you need to create the right abstractions so that even the front-end developer or the UI person that is writing that, they need to have the right abstraction so they don't care. It's transferred from A to B. And I don't care if this goes through a bridge or if this goes through this is in another layer. And I guess this is something that we have because, I don't know, in LinkedIn, when you say, which is your job? I'm a blockchain developer. And what does, it's like saying, I don't know, I'm a, so it's a lot of things, right? And maybe here we are biased because we are all working mostly on infrastructure in the end. So blockchains are infrastructure. So, but there is nothing such a blockchain developer, right? So I don't know. This is like
they also don't know what is developer relations. LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. There is no option for that.
You remind me of one idea that we had to make like a super simple application in which you can like save in Bitcoin. So you would give in your credit card, and every month it would like buy Bitcoin for you with hydration DCA. And you would not need to have any private key because it would be stored on the wallet, but as soon as you have some amount of monetary value in there, it would prompt you like, hey, back up your key, this will be your wallet, and like this onboarding flow, like users don't really need to have anything, like it's just store it on the phone. When you have some value there, okay, like prompt the user to like secure it in some way.
And just to close that, which is the preferred way of non-blockchain related users to like save on blockchain or invest on blockchain? It's Revolut, and it's because there is no barrier. It's the same of buying a stock or even putting money in a savings account. So
Yeah.
sorry.
I think these sign-in ways of using your wallet will be more prominent if the stuff that you're signing into is financially related, right? Like it's like it has money in it, like an exchange or a dApp or stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't want to, log in with my, I don't know, social media app with Talisman, right? There's no use for that, right? So I think it's important to know where to implement certain login methods in the blockchain space. Yeah.
It's like maybe counter to that, which is that I think at some point in the future, our decentralized social and decentralized identity stuff will be much more valuable than what dollars in a wallet. Like all this reputation that you built, all of this information tied to your account, all this thing that you're working on, could be super, super worth more than a couple dollars or even hundreds of dollars in your wallet, because this is something that is extremely hard to replace, like super non-fungible, right? So in this case, I really do actually expect you would probably care about having a high-quality wallet at many layers.
Yeah. Any other? No? Yeah, I just wanted to add that I don't forget yet. So about different maybe tries to log in into some Web3 stuff. Anyway, you can use somehow maybe even Google for average user, but you can during this login somehow to create for this particular user like a wallet, and it will be already attached to this user. So you can just do it somehow behind. So it could be unique ID for this Google email, blah, blah, blah. But then behind you create a wallet and they got their account and this wallet like normal. Maybe somewhere in the future they will use more wallet, and yeah. So we focus more on very secure geek guys, people, and I think we need to somehow to change it, because otherwise we will always be in this enclave somehow. Yeah, regarding passkeys, also wanted to add that so the idea that that you said that by microchips that it's not very secure. Even Apple M1 in this year, I think they found a breach with M1 version of this Apple laptops. They found a breach that private keys could be somehow stolen, because it's not so secure there, unfortunately. So you can Google this. It's a long thread. People did the research on this area. So new devices, the pain point that it could not be fixed with software because it wasn't the problem of this chip. So the idea that when you store just something on special microchip, like for example, the passkeys, they use Face ID, like a fingerprint, right? And fingerprint on Apple device is stored on separate microchip, and this chip is more secure now than any private keys that you store on M1 Apple laptops, because through operation system it could be hacked. So you just need to be very careful and just buy the last version of laptop, so don't store your private keys. And also that passkeys, a lot of companies use already passkeys. So, and now we need to build this intuitive pipeline of all this process of onboarding people that they know already. So it's like when you do UX research, you understand your users, right? You know their habits. We know the habits of Web2 people. So now they just started to learn what is passkeys, maybe more advanced of them. But still, we need somehow to go a little bit back, I think, and try to adapt it to them. Right? Just conclusion of onboarding part, that use multi-factor authentication. Even if you use now authentication through wallet or Face ID or whatever, have these fallbacks, even if if their devices was stolen or something happened, that they don't lose their money or their accounts or whatever. Yes, for now, at least at Web 2 area, people still use email as a fallback. So they will send you generated code, for example, to your email after generated, and you need fast to change it again. But maybe in Web 3 it could be even much better, something created. So for now, it's like the state. Anything add to this topic? No?
I just wanted to add that you had the example of Apple. And I think that Apple has been doing a really good job over the last, say 5 years on educating the end user about the security options basically that they have.
Yeah.
You know, you can back out to iCloud, you can back up your stuff to iCloud, but you can back it up encrypted or unencrypted.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have seen this yourselves, any Mac users in the room? I'm seeing a lot of Macs, but I assume so, right? Where they have this, they're kind of educating you. It's like they'll tell you in a nice, neat little box about what your option is. And for me, that goes back to what we were saying before. It's like, especially with decentralized technologies, and like the most glorious way to access a DApp would be that your DApp is running in a light client, that your wallet is, if you're using a backup solution, that it's using some NPC, whatever. End users shouldn't really care, but they should be educated somewhat, right? And I think there's something to say about how Apple is educating end users. It's pretty cool.
I should also defend Google. Google do a lot of stuff about that. So
yeah.
Google Developer Relations, their team is great, really. They make so many shorts about security and about all these new things in web in general. So they work, they educate us. And we also, after learning this, we go and share these knowledges everywhere. So yeah, I like that big companies still do something like for free for communities. Yeah, so our next topic is accessibility. I would not add this topic if I would not think that it's really important. Why do you think it's important? Accessibility of our mobile apps, of our web application. Yeah, it's like everyone can see the interface, right? We think so. Any ideas? I don't hear.
Sasha.
Regulations, yes. Do you want to add something? No?
Wait, can you catch this?
Yeah, catch please, micro.
Regulations, and also we wanted to provide access to all the people.
Yeah, but like doing good for all people, it doesn't sound so important when some big fines for the company. That sounds more even important. So we need to think about it. Yeah, you're right. That's why it's important. So I started with a slide like more fun. So all these people had some disabilities. You would just refuse them to use your web wallet? Really?
I would.
Like, yeah. Even Mark Zuckerberg, he's like quite like rich guy.
I would deny him.
I mean that we need to think. Even there is such term like partial, like temporary disability. When you broke your arm, you played, I don't know, football, basketball, whatever, or you were doing cycling. You're partially, it's hard for you to navigate with your phone. So we need to think about it. Or I don't know, something with your eyes happened. That could happen with any of us. So we need to think that we don't want to refuse some people. And the most important part is, I put here just European deadline because I'm from Europe, but I know that there are such laws in US, in Canada, in Australia. In Asia, I didn't hear about it, but maybe in future. So the idea that it's related to web and to mobile as well. If your application works in some, I definitely know that it's related to all government, all state websites, of course, and also to some airplane flights. If it's not accessible to people, they can't order something there, then they got a fine. They will get a fine. So the most important parts, it's like color contrast, it's touch accessibility with touch, that everything should be very easy done, but also it's about scalable text. So text, when some want to see it bigger, and it should be, your interface should not be broken after this. And it quite often happens with even current websites in Web 2. And of course, all your forms, especially when we speak about money, how you can do this so not convenient if people have their money and they can't like do something very fast. So, and also electronic signatures. It's also, I didn't add about passkeys, but actually through passkeys, like Face ID or through this process, you can also do signing. So you can sign through your Face ID or fingerprint, sign some transactions. So you just like prove it. It's so easy for people. We all use it for smartphone, like lock them and unlock. So that's why it's very important. That's what I wanted to say about accessibility. Yeah.
I wanted to add to this, not particular, but also a good point, from the developer side. So for instance, if in your project you don't have dedicated time to take care about this stuff, of course, it cannot be the priority. The priority is to actually have something built and then you switch to something else. Thankfully, we are open source, and thankfully we developed open source and we're supporting it. And like, take a look at Coda, for instance, the way they organize their contributions. They put it up as an issue. They put up the reward for it, and anyone can pick it up. Anyone, for instance, can get the Coda reward. Anyone can be tipped from the treasury, thanks to Sean, everyone can contribute, and people might be interested in translating your interface to a different language. Just give the opportunity for it as a developer. Like, explain how to contribute. Explain where do you, like, document your code, and people will see how to scale your text or how to provide the colorblind accessibility to your website.
Just put
it up.
Testing.
Put it up, like everyone uses GitHub, use the Good First issue, use the Hacktoberfest things for this, and people will not only contribute to your project, they will also onboard into your project.
Yeah, that's good opportunity actually to move these people to new industry. And also what I wanted to say that actually accessibility, it's better when you start with good accessibility than you try to add it later. Because, you know, some people do something with Canvas, you know, this Canvas HTML tag. When you do with Canvas, there is no HTML, so there is no accessibility at all. So you need to think, what are you using for your, as a tool for your devices. So, anything else to add?
I guess I'm curious from the audience, like, any comments on the accessibility angle? Because it's not something that people really would think much, I guess, about in our Web3 world, where we're still kind of getting those sweet-looking apps out of the what would you call it, out of the shed. No, but really, like, in the sense that we're not there yet, but it is important to consider at some point.
Maybe have you checked already your apps?
I built this app recently to Beardo for the Polkadot Play app, but like, the Polkadot pink color is horrible for color contrast. It's just so bad. Like, it doesn't work for color contrast with pretty much any colors. So I don't know. Like, we kind of care a little bit about accessibility, and in our developer console, like, we have like keyboard navigation, and we had to change the pink because it was like, otherwise the contrast was like, so I don't know. Maybe we can rethink our pink.
And in the end, we are just another industry inside like the world, and this is like something that it's for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So if we want to be professional, if we want to be mainstream in this sense, we just need to comply with the things that are for everyone.
Yeah. And also wanted to add about accessibility that personally I know several like accessibility people, if you need some context, like people who are experts just in accessibility.
Yeah, but also on that, accessibility, it's not something that can be added, sorry.
Later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it has to be thought beforehand in some way. Like I have developed like an application for a club that puts like results of some races and so on. And at some point I was like, okay, let's see how does it read with a screen reader. And it was awful, you know, because it was just going through the table number by number, just saying random numbers, and it was like, yeah, someone who's blind cannot just see the information on that. And it turns out it's actually quite hard to say, okay, for a screen reader, you have to say this, which is the relevant information of this table for anyone that wants to see it. So it's something quite hard. I think that people often underestimate that it's like, oh, accessibility, you just put some area roles here and there, and it will just magically work. No, it's something that's important.
You can use dev tools to check it. So there is Lighthouse for performance, some things, and also accessibility panel somehow, but of course it's much better when you ask some real people. There are even experts who are colorblind, for example. I know front-enders colorblind, and some experts who are like also have other disabilities, and they can test it and provide a solution how to fix it. So, anything else to add? No? Okay. Next topic is cross-platform. Who did already solutions for mobile and web at the same time? What did you use? Like, how did you build that? Separately? And you try to copy everything? Or, like, what code base?
What code base?
Like for mobile, you use like Java for Android, so what did you use?
No, we used Svelte.
Svelte.
Svelte framework, so it's basically sort of automatic. So we built it essentially mobile first, then scaled it to desktop.
So it's also in web and the same code base?
Yes. Exactly.
That's super cool.
We don't have a dedicated Android or Apple app, but it works on a mobile browser.
Yeah.
So
mobile browser. You didn't have any restrictions there, because some people say that when it's not so native, then it's not everything possible with mobile app. For your app, it was enough?
Yeah, it was enough. We did two separate designs. So we did mobile design and desktop design, and kind of scaling in between.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, not now, but before I did a few apps, and one of them was pretty interesting. It was a password manager, and it needed like native support for these biometric functions and stuff like this, just to encrypt in the secure storage. And there we also used like a web view, but it communicated with layer of native application underneath. So like, it's much easier. But again, if you have like this native Swift iOS app, it looks and feels a little bit different.
Yeah.
But it's the cost of development is much different. Like
Swift developers, they're quite expensive.
So this is not really in Web3, but it applies because we took inspiration from one of the new application that, if you guys never heard of Nekodex, Nekodex, it's an on-chain like exchange that basically built their exchange with a PWA, like a progressive web application, right? So essentially what you do is just save the web page on your home screen, and then it will essentially become an app itself. It's a completely like
progressive web application.
You connect. It's an on-chain DEX. So basically, what they do is they create. How do you interact with the wallet, right? So it's kind of like Hyperledger, Hyperliquid, where they create the wallet for you. In essence, it's like on their chain. And then you just sign up with an email, and then they will say this is your they basically abstracted away that front, so you can save your seed phrases on your own if you want.
You mean PWA, right?
Yeah, PWA, like progressive web application.
You heard that they were like banned from Apple and then they came back?
What?
It was some situation that the Apple banned through their App Store, PVA, and then came back.
The App Store and the Play Store cannot control anything from the PWA. You're just essentially saving...
Some people do this, like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're essentially just saving the website onto your homepage, and
Yeah.
that itself turns into an application.
I think some apps were maybe on an app store there and they banned them, but then they refused this.
But I think there are other ways to
Cancelled.
connect to the PWA as well, like Wallet Connect, right?
Yeah.
Like you scan the QR and it will just be linked to this. I think the most cutting edge like blockchain applications are using PWA to bypass the App Store and the Play Store to kind of get their users.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot less regulation and a lot less friction.
Yeah. And what did you use as a basic, like, to create this PWA? What stack did you use for that?
I think we use like React.
React?
Yeah, just React. It's like a one-line code to turn your entire code base to a PWA.
And you didn't have any limitations, so that you
Actually,
wanted
there's
to
a
change.
website that tells you all the possibility that you can do with PWA. So you can integrate authentications like passkey, NFC, all that stuff, and location services. But there's a nice website that shows you what PWA can do. And I think there are a lot of. Maybe after this talk, I can show you the decks.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
that's built on
Super.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to add that maybe someone else didn't hear. So there are different tools. Yeah, I didn't know actually the Svelte also goes very easy with mobile. That I will also remember. Svelte is quite famous now. So React Native was one of the first who started to do from the same code base their both applications. No, not the first. Ionic. Yeah, it was a lot of, but React Native was famous. Not the same code base, but somehow you use this as a same code base, no? How you can explain this?
Do you want to add something?
Yeah, you can add.
React Native doesn't use React DOM. It's not the same code base. You cannot use like divs, and you cannot use like Tailwind CSS, and you cannot use like, it's not the same code base. It's the same constructs, but it's not the same code base. There was a project that failed miserably, like that tried to kind of creating the same code base, like to deploy to both ends. But like, it is true that with React Native, like you can reuse a lot of the state management. That's true. And if you abstract your application, whether it's a app or not, you abstract the business logic away. That part you can reuse, but the presentation layer you cannot reuse.
Not everything you can reuse, but some at least you can reuse.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like the value proposition is that it's not the same code base.
Yeah.
That's the value proposition. If it was the same code base, then it's a progressive web app. It's a different value proposition.
Okay. But what do you think the best solution for this then?
I don't think there is a best solution. I think there are
So,
different
for
trade-offs.
example, now, at least in Web 2 area, people say a lot of good things about Flutter, but I would say that Flutter still is very good when you need to build something very fast. For example, if you're a startup and you want to build very fast a solution, it will work, Flutter, with the same code base for both of device. But when you want this like native experience, like from Apple device especially, then you always need to use something native, so in the end. But it depends. If it's enough for you, just web version
There should be consideration when a project is doing this, like if you really want a native app because of the regulation and like you are a wallet provider basically, and then like it's very complicated, and if you want to be like the front end to be decentralized also a little bit, then you probably need to host it on some decentralized platform like IPFS, and then like it would be super complicated to have actually mobile apps. So I think PVA is one of the best choices that we have right now. I don't know if you want to do some specific application for some specific use case, of course, and it's going to be better. But yeah, if we care about decentralization, you should also think about this.
I just want to ask a dumb question, I guess. Like, why would we? why would we care so much of having native mobile apps in blockchain space, where we want to be building apps that are accessible by any browser and also accessible by any like mobile phone? So that's a question, I guess.
It depends, of course, always about like how much time do you have to build something firstly, and then about skills of your team, because it's different. If they like Java, they would use Jetpack Compose. All my friends from Kotlin use this. If you like React, you would use React Native, and then Flutter is something new. So, and there are other opportunities. Yes, you always can go for native. So,
But
depends what do you know.
Do you think the future is bright for still developing mobile applications, native mobile applications for Web3? Basically, that's a question.
My opinion is that probably depends on the scale of the application. I don't know, if you are a Facebook, for example, and they have their like website and they have their mobile apps, and you are on this level of scale, this amount of developers and all that stuff, maybe it makes sense for you to have different teams for doing different things. Because of course, in the end, writing a mobile app with the language that the operating system supports and especially the libraries that the operating system supports will always be, you will always have an advantage, I guess.
I would add that abstraction is a key and simplification is always a key. So it's not really important for the most use cases to actually use some hardware native SDKs. When you want to create a website or the application or both, you can just go up for the responsive design, and you create the web application which will equally open and be compatible. Of course, you test for it and everything on all of the sizes of the screens. And what you need to do, if you have to be aware, if your application has to be aware about the hardware which it runs on, there are ways. You can ask what browser it is, it will say you which device it is, and then you activate that tiny part of your integration with the particular hardware. So for the same wallet, you only need this particular hardware implementation and hardware hook to, for instance, if it's a wallet, you just connect to the security chip, and that's it. Everything else is the abstraction in the view of just a responsibly designed web page. And it runs equally everywhere. It's easier to test, it's way cheaper to develop. You don't need a lot of specific developers for that. It's the way to go.
Yeah, I know.
No, that sounds like a great starting point. It makes complete sense. So this sounds like a great starting point, but sometimes when you get mature and you are not, so you have a size that it allows you to go further. I think that's interesting as well. We, in general, in blockchain, we are still on like seed round, let's say. But
well, of course, it depends. Like you cannot really display a table normally on a small screen, right? And you have to like warn the user that it's not really designed, this particular part of your application or website is not really designed for the phone. You can obviously use it, but the functionality is limited, so you better use laptop here. But all in all, if you can abstract away from it for the mobile experience, you do. If you can't, you just place up the warning about it. It's fine.
Guys, we have one more topic, yeah.
Yeah, should we maybe
Yes, we have one more topic. Let's discuss after, okay? Yeah. So I just wanted to add one more thing here. Even if you have native developers, very strong one, but you don't have UX or UI designer, your app will fail if you compare it to something that that was built not with native technologies, but with good UI and UX research and designers, because they will do like a pretty thing from it, even with a bit worse tools. So the last topic that we wanted to discuss is gamification. So do you remember any good examples when you really learned something and it was fun and easier for you? Because everyone loves when it's quite easy, when it's understandable, and no one likes to watch like 10 hours for something that they even don't know, do they need it or they don't need it. So it's much easier when you have some engagement, some interaction, some rewards even, right? So any other examples? Except zombies? No? No.
Can you recall any Web3 interface which you really enjoyed and the really delivering onboarding experience you had with the Web3 interfaces?
That was the easiest, like,
I love Telenova. Telenova was super easy. It was right in Telegram. It just popped it up. I could send a gift. No onboarding. Just worked.
Telegram?
Also grill chat.
It's like a wallet.
Yeah.
Recently, I was researching and I found this new layer 1 called Radix, and then I went through the onboarding because for work, just to kind of test out their user experience a little bit, and I find their onboarding experience to be quite pleasant and cute. They have this like little weasel thing, tells you how long the gamification would take, like 6 minutes to set up your wallet and everything, or like you will get this NFT and then you will learn how to combine NFTs, and and then we will send you some Radix token for gas fee for free and all that stuff. And yeah, it's pretty neat. It's pretty nice. It's called RadQuest.
I will ask for the link later.
Yes, I can take, just because you have it up there. So I remember, the wallets that we used to do before MetaMask, on Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
So just the fact that when you got MetaMask and when the fox was looking at your pointer, when you were using it, was very cute, and it was like, oh, this is fun, this wallet. I think a lot of the success MetaMask had is just because that fox was looking at your pointer when you were like interfacing with it. I thought, that was a lot of fun, and you realize like this, now we're starting to get to somewhere where, a normal person will actually enjoy the interface. That was like...
Yeah, enjoy. Yeah. When you're using sometimes,
Yeah, it needs to be desirable, it needs to be like something you want to be involved with, and design is a lot of that, right? So that's why you wear maybe the clothes you wear and whatever, so a product should also be desirable.
Yeah.
So that's just something.
Yeah, you're right. Our last point, that all of them, they should be somewhere, not here. Okay. So the idea that it should be simplified. Everything should be very easy for users in the end, and that that's the art. To make something simple, it's not the easy task, actually, especially when we speak about complex things.
Because I'm a UX product designer here as well, I think Steve Jobs has a really good philosophy when it comes to building their products back in the days. A lot of tech companies, they want to build the most technological advanced tech out there, especially in Polkadot, where you want to have one of the best blockchain tech in this entire industry, right? But we're building from the tech, and then we're throwing to the users like, hey, check this advanced technological blockchain stuff out, But I think what Steve Jobs implemented in Apple that changed their course is, instead of building the tech first, you talk to your user first, and then you build the tech for the user there. There could be some compromises and all that. The reason why the user will want to sign up with Google or log in with Google is because it's just
so much easier, and it's already there. They can tap into their user base and everything.
Yeah.
I think it is important for us to build and understand and really look into our users with a lot of care, because they are the king in product design. That is the mantra, right? Like, user is king, and then we build the experience for them, and then we help them reach their goal on the value proposition of our projects and dApps. I think that's the most important thing that we should strive.
And Apple also were the first one who started with developer relations, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, they did a great job with that.
Apple mouse is so.
I would like to add that we are in the very different positions here. So the major IT corporates, they have had their time to lead the innovation. They dictated the industry standards in the web, and for instance, the same Google, they mostly created the entire Web 2 as we know it, contributing tools, contributing to the design patterns, contributing to the responsive design, coming up with the mobile first clause and a lot of such ideas. But they are in the easier position. First, they're already done, and we have to match. Second, they are singular corporations. They can dictate, they have the opportunity, they have all the users, basically they control everyone and everything. And we only have to match. And in order to be in pace with them, we need to come up with some standards for various stuff across the ecosystems, across the standards and incompatibilities. So at least for the consistent onboarding and interoperation. So the standard for, just imagine the standard for the same login in into your application. The standard for, say, personal account, which can be equally working and equally functional across like MetaMask compatible stuff and Polkadot compatible stuff, like the Sporin wallet from Kilt. And I also wanted to mention them for the effort of creating the login with Kilt button, like with Google, but with Kilt, and it works. And it also has the abstracted away Web3 stored user store, which is called W3 name, as far as I recall. And there you can store your information, you can store your messages, you can share them with people you meet, and they can find you there, and it's a pretty good experience. When it will be adopted or taken as a standard or something like it.
Yeah. You want to add something?
I want to do a shameless plug. As a part of the UX bounty, there is ongoing referenda right now for unification of address format in the whole ecosystem. Like, you know that all the parachains have different address formats, but it's just the UI thing, and almost just the UI thing, sorry. Sorry. And yeah, I think this will help a little bit to make the ecosystem less scattered, and I have the integration guide for the parachain and dApps almost ready, so if anybody here is interested in that and giving a feedback, I can share it later.
Sasha, do you want to add about that tool in beta you wanted to present on the conference, but we ended up not doing it, the visual way of making the smart contracts? Some bags of bike pipes. Oh, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so we have coffee break, already like 6 minutes, so you're free to go. Thank you very much for discussion. You always can come to our booth on the next floor to argue about something or to speak or chat, or yeah, we're always open to discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. So yeah, coffee break, and at 4 we have the latest workshop, the last workshop of the day. It's going to be a Jam implementation in Elixir. So if you're interested, definitely show up.